Did the print quality of Arthurian Legends cards improve from beta? Well, yes it did. And let me tell you how it improved through the lens of a microscope. Hey everyone, how's it going? This is Hank from Wizard's Den. Today on Sorcery TCG News, I'll talk about the print quality improvements that were implemented on Arthurian Legends cards. I will briefly talk about the history of the previous printing techniques used for sorcery cards, and then discuss how the current printing techniques evolved from that. I will also talk about the quality of the card cutting process too, as that is also another thing people used to talk about when it comes to quality. First, let me give you an overview on the past printing technology used for alpha and beta printings. Alpha and beta had different printing resolution of print dots. Eric's Curiosa decided to shift to high-resolution printing for beta, and as a result, the resolution of the screens changed. You can see here that there are more dots per inch in beta compared to alpha. Top image is alpha and bottom is beta. This was to increase the print quality of the cards, but it slightly backfired as high-resolution printing has higher dot gain, and the variation of the prints can become large if the printers don't have the capability to control the print quality. I went over this in a past episode where I explained the difference between the Alpha Eric's Curiosa and the Eric's Curiosa Curio found in beta. Due to this high variation of the print quality, some cards ended up having a slightly faded color. In the second print of beta, aka Summer Beta, they changed the saturation on some of the screens to compensate for the color fadings, which I covered in detail on this episode. Here is one example of the card comparison. It is hard to see, but the new print on the right shows slightly darker colors. The summer print fixed some cards' fading looks, but also made some of the cards way too dark. Many people seem to like the second print, but personally I don't like it. And now we have Arthurian Legends, and Eric's Curiosa made some changes again. To show you the changes, I used my Amscope Simulfocal Trinocular Zoom Stereo Microscope to get some zoomed up image of the prints. Here is a comparison of beta and Arthurian Legends cards zoomed near the mana cost symbol. There are two observations that can be made from this image. One, the letters on the Arthurian Legends cards looks crispier than the ones in beta. And two, the dot patterns are aligned differently between the two prints. Do you notice that the dots are not aligned on a grid for the Arthurian Legends cards? This is because these cards are printed in a different printing technology called stochastic screening, also called frequency modulated screening or FM screening in short, which is my preferred way of calling it. The print of alpha and beta are both using amplitude modulation screening or AM screening in short, with different resolutions. What are the differences between these screening methods, you may ask? For AM screening, the dots are arranged on an orthogonal grid, and the dot size determines the tonal values. The bigger dots are perceived as darker color through our eyes, and lighter colors will have small dots. Frequency modulation screening, on the other hand, has the same dot size, but the dot density is altered to change the tonal value. The dots are placed on a random fashion, which is why it's called stochastic screening. There are various advantages and drawbacks for this printing technology, but the biggest advantage is that it is possible to express fine details as they utilize extremely small dots. The other huge advantage is that it can produce a wider color gamut than amplitude modulation screening. Color gamut is a range of colors that a device can reproduce, or in this case, the printing technology itself can reproduce. The bigger the color gamut is, it can produce a wide range of colors. This diagram visually shows the color gamut difference between various printing techniques. The important ones are shaded in blue and orange, where blue is AM screening prints and orange are FM screening prints. You can see that the orange FM screening has larger surface area than blue. Hence, FM screening can reproduce wider color ranges. This characteristic is well suited for sorcery as art is the highlight of the product. So this update should be something positive. Some notable drawbacks for FM screening is that as the frequency of the dots determine the tonal densities, it is difficult to make color or tonal adjustments in the printing process itself. Those parameters are almost fixed when the printing plates are made. But this in turn means less variance in the color and tones resulting from the printing process itself. So in a way, it could be taken as a slight benefit. I would expect less print-to-print variation for Arthurian Legends due to the use of the FM screening. However, there is something interesting going on with the foil cards. Here is a microscope image comparing the dots of the foil card with the non-foil cards. You can see that the foil cards' dot patterns are aligned unlike the non-foil cards, indicating that foil cards still use amplitude modulation screens. This applies to both the front and the back side, by the way. Some folks realize that the color looks different for foil cards, and indeed they are correct. AM and FM screens have different color gamut, so the appearance should differ for these two techniques. Now, why did Eric's Curiosa didn't use FM screens for foils? This is probably because they weren't able to use FM screens on foil cards. FM screens require printing microdots, and probably the foil layer is not suitable for printing extremely small dots and have to use the older AM screening techniques. Finally, I will go over the cutting quality of the cards. In the past, I showed that the beta prints, regardless of when it was printed, had inferior card cutting compared to alpha. Now, this is the Arthurian Legends cards put side by side to beta cards. You can see major improvements here. I did notice that most cards don't have easily recognizable bumps, and the comparison here makes it more obvious. Of course, there are some occasional bad ones, but overall, it got way better. Here's a summary on the findings. Arthurian Legends use frequency modulation screens for non-foil cards, but foil cards still use the same amplitude modulation screen, resulting in a different color appearance. Finally, the card cutting has improved for Arthurian Legends. I hope the next time you talk about the coloring of Arthurian Legends cards with your friends, you have something extra to add from this video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for future episodes regarding sorcery. Thanks for watching, and until next time, have a great game.